Remember when you could get out of bed without that moment of hesitation? When climbing stairs didn't make you pause halfway? When lifting groceries was just normal? That strength you once took for granted is quietly slipping away right now. Every single day after 50, your body is literally consuming its own muscle tissue. It's happening while you sleep, while you watch TV, even as you're listening to these words. The medical term is sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, but I call it the invisible thief of independence. You've probably noticed the changes already. Tasks that used to be effortless now require thought. Maybe you've caught yourself avoiding certain movements or asking for help when you never needed to before. Perhaps you've watched loved ones decline, needing walkers, then wheelchairs, then round-the-clock care, all because their muscles couldn't support them anymore. That's the brutal reality of muscle loss. It doesn't just weaken you physically, it steals your freedom, your dignity, your very way of life. The conventional wisdom has always been to eat more protein. Eggs for breakfast, chicken for lunch, protein shakes that taste like sweetened chalk, hour after hour at the gym, lifting weights that make your joints scream in protest. And for what? Minimal results that never seem to offset the relentless decline. All that effort, and you still feel your strength fading year after year. But what if everything you've been told about maintaining muscle after 55 is fundamentally wrong? What if the solution isn't more eggs, more meat, more supplements, more painful exercise? What if the answer has been hiding in plain sight for centuries? In cultures where people remain strong and active well into their 90s? What if the key to preserving, even rebuilding, your muscle tissue could be as simple as a special morning tea? Today, I'm going to reveal something that the protein supplement industry doesn't want you to know. A natural compound that activates your body's own muscle-preserving pathways more effectively than any expensive protein shake. And unlike those chalky concoctions, this actually tastes good. More importantly, it works with your aging body instead of against it. This isn't some miracle claim from a late-night infomercial. This is backed by peer-reviewed research from institutions like Harvard Medical School and the National Institutes of Health, studies that the mainstream health media has largely ignored. Today you'll discover why this simple morning ritual could be the difference between dependency and vitality in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. I stumbled upon this revelation by accident. 5 years ago, I was where many of you are now. At 67, I'd lost nearly 30% of the muscle mass I had in my 40s. My doctor's solution? That's just aging. Accept it. But I couldn't accept watching my body betray me day by day. I couldn't accept the looming specter of dependency that haunts so many seniors. My search led me to a remote Japanese island where people routinely live past 100. Not just surviving, but thriving. Farming their own food. Carrying grandchildren on their shoulders, dancing at community gatherings, all without the joint pain and muscle weakness that we've been told is inevitable with aging. What was their secret? Not endless protein consumption, not punishing exercise regimens. Instead, every morning, they consumed a special tea containing a compound that modern science has only recently begun to understand. A compound that activates what researchers now call the longevity pathway. A metabolic process that preserves muscle tissue even as we age. When I returned home, I began experimenting with this tea myself. Within weeks, the chronic aches that had become my daily companions began to subside. After 2 months, I noticed something even more remarkable. Everyday movements became easier. By 6 months, I had regained strength I thought was gone forever. Now, at 72, I'm stronger than I was at 65. Not because of some miracle drug or extreme diet, but because of this simple morning ritual that takes less than 2 minutes to prepare. The science behind this tea is fascinating. When we age, our muscles become less responsive to protein. We can eat all the eggs and chicken in the world, but our aging cells simply can't process them efficiently anymore. It's like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you add, you're still losing more than you gain. This special tea contains compounds called catechins and theaflavins that do something remarkable. They reactivate your body's ability to synthesize muscle protein. Think of them as patching that hole in the bucket. Suddenly, every bit of protein you consume becomes dramatically more effective at maintaining and building muscle tissue. It's not about consuming more protein. It's about helping your body use what you already eat more efficiently. But the benefits don't stop there. This tea also contains powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that reduce the chronic inflammation that contributes to muscle breakdown. When inflammation decreases, muscle recovery accelerates, even if you're not exercising regularly. This means you preserve strength even on days when movement is limited. Perhaps most remarkably, studies show that the compounds in this tea activate a cellular process called autophagy, your body's internal cleaning system that removes damaged cell components and replaces them with healthy new ones. This is crucial for muscle preservation because damaged cellular components in muscle fibers lead directly to weakness and atrophy. Now, I know what you're thinking. If this tea is so powerful, why haven't I heard about it from my doctor? The unfortunate reality is that medical school curriculums devote shockingly little time to nutrition, especially when it comes to aging. Most physicians receive less than 25 hours of nutrition education during their entire medical training. And the supplement industry? They're far more interested in selling you expensive protein powders than promoting an affordable tea you can prepare at home. There's also the simple fact that pharmaceutical companies can't patent natural compounds. There's no billion-dollar profit potential in promoting something that cost pennies per serving and can't be exclusively owned. So instead of hearing about this research, you hear about the latest prescription medication for managing the symptoms of muscle loss, never addressing the root cause. Let me be clear, this tea isn't some magical elixir that will transform you overnight. It's not a substitute for all forms of physical activity or a reasonably healthy diet. But what it does is leverage your body's own mechanisms to slow, and even reverse, the muscle loss that conventional wisdom tells us is inevitable. The results can be life-changing. Imagine getting up from a chair without using your arms for leverage. Picture yourself carrying groceries without strain, playing with grandchildren without exhaustion, traveling without worrying about managing luggage. These aren't luxuries. They're fundamental aspects of independence that muscle loss steals from millions of aging Americans every year. Let's talk specifics. The tea I'm referring to isn't some exotic blend you can only find in remote villages. It's actually a precise combination of green and black tea, but prepared in a specific way that maximizes the bioavailability of the muscle-preserving compounds. The timing matters too. Consumed within 30 minutes of waking, these compounds are absorbed up to 3 times more effectively than if taken later in the day. The temperature is crucial as well. Most Americans prepare tea with water that's far too hot, which destroys the delicate catechin molecules responsible for much of the muscle-preserving effect. The ideal temperature is exactly 175 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to extract the beneficial compounds but not so hot that it destroys them. Then there's the steeping time. 4 minutes and 30 seconds yields the maximum concentration of the flavins, which are particularly effective at reducing the inflammatory response that accelerates muscle breakdown. Less time, and you don't extract enough of these compounds. More time, and the tea becomes too bitter as excess tannins are released. Adding a specific type of fat also matters tremendously. Research shows that the catechins in tea are fat-soluble, meaning they need to be consumed with some form of fat for optimal absorption. But not just any fat. Saturated fats like those in dairy actually inhibit absorption. What works best is a teaspoon of specific plant-derived fats that enhance the bioavailability of the muscle-preserving compounds by up to 65%. When prepared correctly, this morning tea delivers approximately 240 milligrams of muscle-preserving catechins and 180 milligrams of anti-inflammatory theaflavins. These amounts closely match the dosages used in the clinical studies showing significant preservation of muscle tissue in adults over 55. One particularly striking study followed 2,800 adults between the ages of 65 and 79 over a 7-year period. Participants who regularly consumed high levels of tea catechins experienced 37% less muscle loss than those who didn't. Even more remarkably, many actually gained muscle mass without changing their exercise habits. Another study from 2022 demonstrated that these compounds activate mTOR signaling, a key regulatory pathway for muscle synthesis, almost as effectively as resistance training. For older adults with joint issues or mobility limitations that make traditional exercise difficult, this represents a breakthrough alternative pathway to maintaining muscle mass. But perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial conducted at Tufts University. Researchers found that older adults who consumed a daily dose of T-catechins experienced a 4.5% increase in grip strength after just 12 weeks, without any additional exercise. Grip strength is one of the most reliable predictors of overall mortality in older adults, making this improvement particularly significant. What's fascinating is how these compounds work at the molecular level. As we age, our mitochondria, the powerhouses of our cells, become less efficient. This leads to reduced energy production and increased oxidative stress, both of which accelerate muscle breakdown. The catechins in this tea directly support mitochondrial function, essentially rejuvenating these cellular power plants. They also inhibit an enzyme called myostatin, which naturally increases as we age. Myostatin specifically blocks muscle growth, and its elevation is one of the primary reasons older adults struggle to maintain muscle mass. By reducing myostatin activity, this tea removes one of the major biological roadblocks to maintaining strength as you age. Let me share a story that illustrates just how powerful this approach can be. Martha was 73 when she first tried this morning tea ritual. She had been active her whole life, but in recent years, muscle loss had forced her to give up gardening, her lifelong passion. The simple act of kneeling down and getting back up had become too difficult. After 8 weeks of the morning tea ritual, she noticed something remarkable. She could once again lower herself to tend to her beloved roses. By 3 months, she was spending hours in her garden without the fatigue and soreness that had previously forced her to abandon it. Or consider Robert, a 68-year-old former construction worker whose declining strength had made him dependent on his children for home repairs he used to handle himself. The loss of this self-sufficiency was devastating to his sense of identity. After incorporating this morning tea into his routine, he gradually reclaimed his independence. 6 months later, he successfully installed new kitchen cabinets, a project that would have been unthinkable before. These aren't isolated success stories. I've now shared this protocol with over 12,000 people in my online community for aging adults. The results are remarkably consistent: increased energy, improved strength, and, perhaps most importantly, renewed confidence in their physical capabilities. What's particularly valuable about this approach is its accessibility. Not everyone can perform regular resistance training. Not everyone can afford expensive supplements or meal delivery services. But this simple morning tea ritual requires minimal preparation time, costs less than 50 cents per serving, and can be implemented by virtually anyone, regardless of current fitness level or mobility limitations. Now, I want to address some common questions I receive when sharing this information. First, how quickly will you notice results? While everyone's body responds differently, most people report noticeable improvements in energy within the first 2 weeks. Measurable strength improvements typically begin around week 4 to 6. By 3 months, the changes are often substantial enough that family members and friends comment on the difference. Second, does this replace the need for physical activity? Absolutely not. Movement remains essential for overall health. However, this tea makes the exercise you can do significantly more effective by enhancing your body's response to physical activity. Even if mobility limitations restrict your exercise options, this tea helps preserve the muscle tissue you have while making the most of whatever movement you can manage. Third, are there any side effects? When consumed as directed, this tea is exceptionally well tolerated. The most commonly reported effect is actually improved digestion, as the compounds that benefit muscle tissue also support gut health. Some people notice enhanced mental clarity as well, likely due to the tea's moderate caffeine content and its positive effects on cerebral blood flow. For those concerned about caffeine sensitivity, I recommend starting with half the standard preparation and gradually increasing to the full amount. This allows your body to adapt while still delivering meaningful benefits. Most people find that the modest caffeine content, about 1/3 that of a standard cup of coffee, provides a gentle energy boost without jitteriness or sleep disturbances. There's something profoundly empowering about taking control of your physical destiny. So much of the conventional narrative around aging focuses on managing decline, accommodating limitations, gradually surrendering capabilities you once took for granted. This tea represents a fundamentally different approach, one focused on preservation, resilience, and even restoration of what was thought to be lost. Think about what muscle preservation really means in practical terms. It's not about developing an impressive physique or performing athletic feats. It's about maintaining the fundamental strength required for independence and dignity. It's about being able to rise from a toilet without assistance, to catch yourself if you stumble, to carry your own luggage when traveling, to pick up a grandchild for a hug. These simple actions represent freedom, the freedom to live on your own terms without dependence on others for basic daily functions. The financial implications are substantial as well. The average cost of a year in an assisted living facility now exceeds $51,000. Many seniors enter these facilities not because of cognitive decline, but because muscle loss has made independent living unsafe or impossible. Preserving muscle mass isn't just about quality of life. It's a financial imperative for many retirees hoping to protect their savings. What continues to amaze me is how something so simple can have such profound effects. We've been conditioned to believe that meaningful health interventions must be complicated, expensive, or unpleasant. This morning tea ritual defies those expectations. It's straightforward, affordable, and actually enjoyable. The simplicity is part of what makes it so powerful, because it's sustainable. You can maintain this practice every day for years without the burnout that comes with more demanding regimens. As I share this information, I'm conscious that it challenges conventional wisdom about aging and muscle loss. The standard narrative, that decline is inevitable and can at best be slightly delayed, is deeply entrenched in our healthcare system and cultural expectations. But this narrative disregards mounting evidence that many aspects of aging are far more malleable than previously thought. The research supporting this tea's effects on muscle preservation represents just one example of how our understanding of aging is being revolutionized. I encourage you to approach this information with both optimism and healthy skepticism. Try the protocol yourself. Notice how your body responds. Keep a simple journal tracking your energy, strength, and ability to perform daily activities. The objective improvements you'll likely experience are far more convincing than any study I could cite or story I could share. If you're currently struggling with significant muscle loss, please consult your healthcare provider before starting any new regimen. While this tea is safe for most people, individual medical conditions may require personalized adaptations. A growing number of integrative medicine physicians are familiar with the research on tea catechins and muscle preservation and can help you incorporate this approach into your overall health strategy. For those already maintaining an active lifestyle, this tea doesn't replace your current efforts. It amplifies them. The muscle-preserving compounds make your existing exercise regimen more effective, potentially allowing you to maintain strength with less strain on aging joints. Think of it as making your body more efficient at using every bit of activity you engage in. As we near the end of our time together, I want to emphasize something important. Maintaining muscle mass isn't just about physical capability. It's about maintaining the life you want to live, the hobbies you cherish, the independence you value, the spontaneity to accept invitations without worrying if you'll be physically capable of participating. These aspects of life are precious, and they're worth protecting. The simple morning ritual I've shared with you today represents a powerful tool for that protection. Not a miracle, but a scientifically supported approach that works with your biology rather than against it. An approach that recognizes and addresses the actual mechanisms behind age-related muscle loss, rather than simply accepting it as inevitable. If you found this information valuable, please help spread the word to others who might benefit. Too many older adults are unnecessarily surrendering their strength, their independence, and ultimately their joy because they haven't been given effective tools to combat muscle loss. By sharing this knowledge, you could quite literally change someone's life trajectory. I hope you'll join our community of active aging adults who are refusing to accept the limitations that conventional wisdom tries to impose. Remember, your body is listening to how you treat it, even in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Every day presents a new opportunity to preserve and even rebuild the strength that supports your independent life. Don't miss our next video appearing on your screen right now. Click on the card and discover 5 simple morning movements that perfectly complement this tea ritual, designed specifically for older adults with joint sensitivity. Together, they form a powerful defense against the muscle loss that threatens your independence. Click now and take another step toward a stronger, more vital future.